Did you?
They look like twins with the same.
Yeah, I like
They're
it.
short, I was gonna think
They're
about
really
it.
nice. Hey, Mom. Wait,
Hey,
you
Mom.
said it here loud. Hey, Mom, don't go.
Hey, Mom.
He got the same. Good job.
I wish I had a camera for your face right there.
What do you say? He said hi, Mom?
Oh, my God. He goes, hey, Mom. Okay, so we will continue with our board meeting. It is 7 o'clock. And we will move on to committee reports.
Thank you, Therese. Item E1 is a standing committee regarding the district policies on July 25th, 2018, and that is Director Lineback and Chair Reyes reporting out.
Thank you. I can do a quick, just the beginning part here because it was a very long meeting. Staff did a lot of hard work went into this. And if I'm not mistaken, for the personnel policies, we're beyond the halfway mark. Like to simply report that we should be able to, the agreement here was that we were going to bring this to, as a workshop, to our board halfway. And then, so that then it wouldn't be too much, and then move on. They're doing a good job, and I think Andrea's got an awesome team from all over, so they're able to talk about this. But there's a lot that went in, because it was a 5-hour meeting, from 10 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon, and no lunch. And 9 to 2, and no lunch. So anyway, no, because we weren't expecting that. But we, because of the hard work that staff put in, we felt that we would be respectful of the fact that we too would like to go through everything they had gone through. Chair Lineback.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add to that. We're not going to go, discuss the policies here at this meeting, and there will be a Board of Directors workshop to go over it coming up.
Okay.
And that's all.
That sounds great. Thank you. Now we will move to item F.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Item F is the public hearing portion of the meeting. And this is regarding adopting the final budgets for the Cordova Recreation and Park District fiscal year 2018-19. Item F1A is to adopt Resolution 18/19-11 and approve the final budget for Cordova Recreation and Park District General Fund 347A for fiscal year 2018-19 and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Okay, this being a public hearing, we are going to follow a little bit of a process here. So, thank you, clerk. I'm going to open the public hearing, and the time is 7:05. 7:05, we open the public hearing. And so now we have Mr. Goodell. You are going to present on the item.
All right, thank you, Chair Reyes. Good evening, board members. First off, I'd like to thank staff for their hard work in putting together thoughtful budget proposals. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here today. So very thankful. I also like to thank the Budget and Finance Committee, Chair Reyes and Board Member Lineback. We had some great meetings, talked about some budget philosophies, and reviewed the process and the projects and get feedback and input. And all that back and forth was very productive. It was very helpful, so I thank you.
Wonderful.
I also want to thank District Administrator Patrick Larkin for your guidance, your leadership, and most importantly, your humor, because this is a very long, strenuous, sometimes very stressful process, and the best medicine for that is crying. I mean, laughter, laughter. So, yeah. Oh, I'd also like to thank our newest member to the team, our management analyst, Rick Smith. Literally here for just hours, days, and he already infused himself and engaged and activated himself into this budget process almost to the point of complete ownership. I mean, he just took it on. And it was great to get that fresh look and fresh eyes and knowledge and skills that he brought to this. So very instrumental, and I appreciate that, Rick. So thank you for joining us. And so, yeah, we made it to the starting line, which is great. Usually we talk about the finish line, but never talk about the budget starting line. And I'm very pleased with the final budget book. Like, I'm very happy. I think this is going to be a positive year with amazing outcomes. I'm probably jinxing it right now, but you know, it's going to be a good year. Really feel that. And that final budget book is within the board package, so use that as a tool, as a reference. Danielle, the clerk, also put in an extra copy in color because everything's better in HD, right? So it's good to have that. And I'm not going to go over it page by page, but use it as a reference. If you have any questions about it during these presentations, we can go ahead and use that as a tool. So otherwise, we have 8 funds resolutions to approve tonight, starting with the general fund, 347A. So my approach, I'm going to show you a summarized table, okay? And I'm going to show you the final budget numbers for 2018-19. I thought it'd be a good idea to take a look at the preliminary, what we approved in June. So any variances we'll discuss. And then also I thought I'd throw in there last year's, so we could take a look at any trends or changes and what's going on compared to different years. And I'll pause for a second. Do we have a
Thank you.
screen?
Yeah, we're good.
We're back up?
We're good.
You want me to start over, or?
No,
No? Okay.
we're
So-
good.
So these are the 3 pieces that we're going to show. The final budget, what we approved in June to compare and talk about the variances, and then obviously look at last year to see any trends. So see if I can magically fill and populate this. Boom! Look at that. It's a lot of data.
There you go.
I need to get glasses. So I'm going to break this down easily. We'll start with labor and talk about that. And we had a reduction. Let's see if my clicker's not working. There we go. So compared to what we approved in June to now, it's a $70,000 reduction, and that's because of our workers' comp bill came in. It was a timing issue, came in after the preliminary was submitted. And so Capri came in at a lower quote. And yeah, I might have to jump over there. Oh, there we go, okay. So we're able to put that reduction in there, that savings. So that's a good thing.
So it looks like it's a $70,000.
Yeah, it was a
difference.
70,000 difference.
Okay.
Yeah. And that all depends about like how many claims we had during the year, their change of rates, and how much payroll we have. Let me keep going. Yeah, go and click next, please. Oh, is there a mouse or something? You just push the next button. Does that work? Okay, there we go. There you go. So Jill, thankfully, is over there. So service and supplies, we had an additional Capri insurance bill for general liability. Click. And it was about $30,000 more. It was a $220,000 bill. And again, that's something that came in actually after our preliminary was submitted. And a lot has to do with how many claims were made again, and if we added any asset inventory. So we had a new park. So that was added to the list for liability insurance. And so that was $30,000 more. So we had to infuse that into the services and supplies. Next up, we have his debt obligation. There was a lot going on during the process of the budget, developing the budget. We're also refinancing the Mather Sports loan. We're looking to go to a bond payment structure for the Cordova Community Pool. And so during the preliminary process, we weren't sure what those final numbers were because they weren't closed yet. And so we went with the worst case model situation. So they give us all these different models, different interest rates and variables. And so we went with worst case scenario of the $615,000 for both debt. And when we closed, we got a lower interest rate. Our credit rating was great. And so it came in about $550,000. So we were able to see those savings infused into the final budget. So that's a good thing. I need to work on signals. Is it not working? Let's go again. Oh, there we go. So there's some items that didn't change from preliminary, and that's the capital improvement projects, the equipment, our operating transfers, and our commodities. I'd just like to reiterate that the capital improvements for the general fund or for the community Cordova pool project for the design phase. So that's what the 286 is going for. Plan has not changed. The equipment going in, we're going to be doing a lot of projects, especially with Measure J. And talking planning and park services, the plan is to rent the equipment per the project. So if we have specialized equipment, instead of buying it and then putting it in the inventory and capitalizing and maintaining the costs and having it sit idle, we're going to rent the equipment per the project, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, and incorporate that part of the project cost. So that's why that one's zero. The operating transfers, my accounting methodologies have the general fund pay for everything. So it pays for all the labor, all the services, all the supplies, the debt. And then the assessment districts transfer on every month. We do that. Finance department does that into the general fund. So that's what that is, the 5 million. And then commodities is some resale items that recreation has. Next up, we have a change in revenue. It went up 7,000. There was a recreation component that we forgot to add, and I believe it was the barn. It was a community barn. We have some new programming there, some tours and parties and things, and so that was a revenue cost recovery fee piece that we were missing from preliminary. So we decided to add it into the final budget as well to increase that. So the final, with all these adjustments that we just discussed, the net impact was to the fund balance and a positive 116,000. So it went from using fund balance of 76,000 to a positive 38,000. So that's rare. Usually in the 11th hour in July, we have people come up out of the woodwork and say, hey, I need these extra expenses, or hey, it's gonna be more than I thought. And we actually had the opposite happen here. So we have a positive reserve moving forward. In previous years, we utilized the fund balance for the pool project back in last year too, so we're using the fund balance. This year, we're able to do the pool project, everything else operations, and still have a reserve coming out of the general fund. So that's fantastic. So very excited about that. So that's my presentation on the general fund for the budgetary requirements.
Thank you. So at this time, I will invite the public, anyone in the public, to comment. Seeing none, I would like to close the public hearing, and the time is 7:14. So are there any questions from the board with this? It's pretty much it's good. It's looking very good. I think we're moving towards a better, more stable. Our fund balance is looking good. So if there are no questions or comments from the board, then I would like to call for a vote. Motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion. I move the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 18/19-11 and approve the final budget for Cordova Recreation and Park District General Fund, 347A, for fiscal year 2018-19, and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Moved by Director Sloan,
Second.
seconded by Director Lineback. Roll call vote.
Director Lineback,
Aye.
Director Sloan,
Aye.
Chair Reyes,
Aye.
Vice Chair Yearwood, and Secretary Danzel are absent.
So motion carried.
Thank you.
All right. So clerk.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Item F1B is to adopt Resolution 18/19-12 and approve the final budget for the Independence at Mather Landscaping and Lighting District 347B for fiscal year 2018-19 and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to open the public hearing. It is 7:15.
Okay.
So
Matt Goodell,
staff,
Finance
you
Manager,
are-
that'll be
Yep.
me again. Okay, so this is for Independence and Mather and Veterans Park area. Again, this is the grid comparison to what we approved in June and last year. It's pretty straightforward. There's only a couple minor changes that we had from preliminary. Was I able to? Ooh, okay. The tax engineer report came out, and it was $50 difference than what we estimated. So I went ahead and mirrored with what their report was, and knocked the revenue down $50, so it had that $50 impact on fund balance as well. A couple things to note is that our fund balance last year was higher than what we were anticipating this year, and there's a reason for that. And that's because of the projects that we're going to do this year compared to last year. We had about $5,000 worth of projects last year. This year, we're investing about $28,000 this year. And so the same plan that we had in June is the same plan moving forward, and that's to take care of some sports court maintenance and some ADA compliance upgrades that we have to do per the study in this area that we're going to tackle. So the plan's the same. We're going to put $28,000 of investment in that. Otherwise, park operations and maintenance is still the same that we had planned. So that's the report for Mather.
All right. So now I'd like to invite the public to comment on the report for Mather. Seeing none, I will go ahead and close the public hearing, and the time is 7:17. Are there any questions from the board or comments from the board? None? Okay, so I will entertain a motion.
I move that the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 18/19-12 and approve the final budget for the Independence at Mather Landscaping and Lighting District 347B for fiscal year 2018-19 and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
I second
Moved
that.
by Director Lineback, seconded by Director Sloan. All those in favor, roll call vote.
Director Lineback,
Aye.
Director Sloan,
Aye.
Chair Reyes,
Aye.
Vice Chair Yearwood, and Secretary Danzel are absent.
Motion carries. Okay, so now I will go ahead and we will move to item F1C.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Item F1C is to adopt Resolution 18/19-13 and approve the final budget for the Villages of Zinfandel Community Facilities District, CFD number 01-01-347C for fiscal year 2018-19, and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Thank you. All right. So I'm going to open the public hearing right now. The time is 7:19. Staff? you
Perfect.
may
Hello
present
again.
the item.
Good to see you. Who are you? Okay, so this is for resolution number 13 for the Villages at Zinfandel and Capital Villages area. A beautiful Village Green Park in Tuscany there.
See, there you go.
Yeah. As you can see, there's not too much difference between what we approved in June versus now. There is a slight change, though, in our revenue. Compared to the tax engineer report, it came up 1,400 more. And so we went ahead and incorporated that as part of the fund balance increase and applied it to the final budget, so that was a positive thing. The projects are the same for this year. We're just going to do some ADA compliance updates per the study again. Those are the only projects that we're going to do in this area. And then maintenance stayed the same for that. So that's my report for Villages of Zinfandel.
And Villages of Zinfandel is Village Green Park and,
Yeah, there's 7 parks in this area.
okay,
Yeah, Sonoma, Stone
parks.
Creek,
that's wonderful.
Sonoma.
The Sunridge,
Tuscany,
right.
Renaissance.
Yes. All right, want to make sure we've got that in. Okay, so I would like to invite the public for comment. At this time, I would like to close the public hearing. The time is 7:20. Are there any questions from the board? Yes, Director Lineback?
I do have a question, not so much specific to Villages of Zinfandel, but to your mentioning of the engineer's calculation for the tax assessment. Is there any allowance for unpaid taxes taken into account? These aren't the same as the general taxes, right? The county
Right.
does not take on pay you the delinquent.
Yeah, I have to look back on how this one's set up, but some of the accounts we have it to where we collect it regardless, and then the county keeps the penalties and the delinquent down the road. But I'm not sure how this one's set up. I think this one we have,
They
we don't
do
have
for
uncollectible.
assessments.
Right, I
yeah.
don't think so either. So I think it's doesn't account for unaccountable.
Okay.
The reason why it did go up though in this area, because they're developing, so I know they're having like BDX apartments are going up, some businesses, some homes are still being developed in this area. And so if there are anything up to the date that our tax engineer has to add them on the tax roll, of course he's gonna add them in and get them in for next year. So that's why that revenue jumped in that area.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. So what we will do now is I will call for the vote.
No, motion.
Yeah, motion.
I'd like to make the motion. I move the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 18/19-13 and approve the final budget for the Village of Zinfandel Community Facilities District, CFD number 01-01-347C for fiscal year 2018-19, and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Moved by Director Sloan,
Second.
seconded by Director Lineback. Roll call.
Director Lineback,
Aye.
Director Sloan,
Aye.
Chair Reyes,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Yearwood and Secretary Danzel are absent.
Okay, motion carried.
Thank you.
Item F1D.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Item F1D is to adopt Resolution 18/19-14 and approve the final budget for the district-wide Capital Improvements Fund, 347D, for fiscal year 2018-19, and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Thank you. So I would like to open the public hearing at 7:23. And staff, you may present the item.
So this is for our unique fund that we set up when we had a shooting center property, and we were charging $2 per shooter to collect this fee and for recreation use. And so we currently to date have a fund balance of there about $467,000. And the purpose of it is to either address that property or any district-wide. The services are defined in that particular fund that can be district-wide amenities or facilities. And so currently that's what we have. We do have planned to use some of that this year. There's some board pictures. So there's a plan to hire a consultant to take a look at that property and moving forward what we're going to do. And so we're going to utilize about $47,000. There's one thing to note here. Take a look at the revenue. Last year, we had a concessionaire renting the space. This year, we don't. So there is going to be a reduction in expectation in revenue from $70,000 last year to $2,500. That $2,500 comes from the interest that we receive off that balance of $467,000. So we get a little bit of revenue out of that account still. And then, again, the project that we're doing, I think I highlight the project. Is for the same plan. I hire the consultant to take a look at that property. And that's it for this fund. That's my presentation.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite the public to comment. Hearing none, I would like to close the public hearing at 7:24. Are there any questions from the board? No questions, then I will call for a motion.
I would like to move that the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 18/19-14 and approve the final budget for the district-wide Capital Improvements Fund, 347D, for fiscal year 2018-19, and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Moved by Director Lineback,
Second by Rick Sloan.
seconded by Director Sloan. Roll call vote.
Director Lineback,
Aye.
Director Sloan,
Aye.
Chair Reyes,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Yearwood and Secretary Danzel are absent.
So motion carried.
Thank you.
All right, so now we're going to move to F1E.
Thank you. Item F1E is to adopt Resolution 18/19-15 and approve the final budget for the Sunridge Community Facilities District, CFD number 04-01-347E for fiscal year 2018-19, and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Okay, I would like to open the public hearing at this time. The time is 7:26.
Okay, this is for our Sunridge Community Facilities District and our budgetary requirements that we're asking. After our beautiful award-winning parks, by the way, right? Can I hear it?
Heron
Yeah.
Landing, yep.
Yeah, beautiful parks in that area being developed. So this grid shows that we have some differences. The first one is revenue is down a little bit, and I'm not 100% positive why. I have to inquire about that one a little bit more on why the estimate for the tax engineer report was off ours, but I'm not quite sure what the response is for that one yet. But I went with their number from our estimate. And then, let's see, what else I want to talk about here.
The operating transfer.
Yeah, the biggest thing. We're all having technical difficulties here today. Oh, that everything's the same. The plan is to operations and are going to remain intact, and the projects that we had planned are going to be intact. And we have quite a bit going on in the Sunridge area. There's discussion about a Kavala Ranch Park restroom, so that's part of the capital improvements. Also shade structures for the tennis courts at the Heron Landing Park, and a ventilator fan for one of the storage buildings at that park as well. And then there's some ADA compliance per the study that we're going to have to do in that area as well. So those are the projects that we have on task for next year. And I think that's it for this fund. Like I said, the operations are going to remain the same for that. We do have additional parks in that area, so those went up from last year. And that's my report on Sunridge.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to invite the public to comment. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. The time is 7:28. Board members, do we have any questions for staff? I'll start off with a question, and one is I really would like to hear a follow-up as to why there was a difference in the revenue after you do your research on that. And the other question I was going to ask here is, does this budget take into consideration the Heron Landing outreach to decide on, or to go out to the community about the community center that's going to be built?
Yes, it does include potential design costs
Okay.
for that,
Okay.
right?
So it takes that into consideration.
Just that line item, yeah, that is one of the project costs,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay. Any other questions?
Nope. I'd like to make a motion.
Director Sloan, yes? Motion?
Is it my turn?
It is, but could I ask a question first?
Yes. Director Lineback, question?
Yeah, so the assessment isn't very different from the prior year, just a slight increase, right? Could you refresh me what the $1.6 million in capital improvement fund transfer was last year?
Yeah, so I don't know if we could go back one slide.
Yeah, if you don't
Because
mind.
we had 3.4 million
Yeah.
as our revenue. So it was 1.8 that we had for the assessment, and then 1.6 was for developer fees that were received through the pass-through to the city to cover the costs of Heron Landing, the portion of, to finish out that project. Yeah. So that was the difference of the revenue between last year and this year, so.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion. I
Thank
move
you.
the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 18/19-15 and approve the final budget for the Sunridge Community Facilities District, CFD number 04-01-347E for fiscal year 2018-19, and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Moved by Director Sloan,
Second?
seconded by Director Lineback. Roll call vote.
Director Lineback,
Aye.
Director Sloan,
Aye.
Chair Reyes,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Yearwood and Secretary Danzel are absent.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
So we're item F1F.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Item F1F is to adopt Resolution 18/19-16 and approve the final budget for the Cordova Golf Course 347F for fiscal year 2018-19 and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to open the public hearing. The time is 7:31.
Thank you. So this is for our enterprise fund, so it's self-sustaining, hopefully usually profitable. And this is the golf course. So we take a look at the grid here. I didn't highlight it, so don't push the button yet. But the first one, I want to talk about the salaries because, she pushed the button. That's okay. So we have kind of a shift. We had an evaluation of full-time staff that is no longer there. We're sharing mechanics and other personnel out there. And so that's why the salaries went from 453 down to 403 and then down to 397 with some benefits and stuff that were reduced from preliminary. So that's the shift there. And then the next are services and supplies and debt service. We planned on allocating the carts as a debt service for $30,000 next year, but now we're not quite sure that's how we're going to report it. It might be more of like an operating lease and go under the 20s block under services and supplies. So we shifted that up towards the 20s if we make that move at all. So that's just something that we put out of that category up to that category. So just a shift. Otherwise, we had an increase in fund balance. I think I show that. Nice little highlight that I pretend to do. Yep, see? And one more thing I want to talk about here, I think I have it highlighted, is the revenue. So our expectation last year was over $1 million, and we didn't reach that. We didn't reach that this year, last year. So the revenue expectation for next year is going to be $873,000. We think it's a good target. The course is in phenomenal shape. I've heard really good things of what our superintendent out there, Vijay Singh, is doing under Park Services. And so the course is ready to go. We just need the people to come and play. And but that's our revenue target for this year to match our expenditures. And that's my golf course budget presentation.
All right, so I'd like to invite the public to comment. Seeing none, I would like to close the public hearing. It is 7:33. Any questions from the board? No questions from the board. I will entertain a motion.
I'd like to move that the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 18/19-16 and approve the final budget for the Cordova Golf Course 347F for fiscal year 2018-19 and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Thank you. Moved by Director Lineback,
I second the motion.
seconded by Director Sloan. Roll call vote.
Director Lineback,
Aye.
Director Sloan,
Aye.
Chair Reyes,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Yearwood and Secretary Danzel are absent.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, now we have moved down to our last two, F1G.
F1G is to adopt Resolution 18/19-17 and approve the final budget for the My Parks Enhancement Fund, Measure J, Community Facilities District, CFD number 2016-01-347P for fiscal year 2018-19 and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Thank you. We will open the public hearing at this time. It is 7:35. And staff can
All
make
right,
your
so this is
presentation.
for our second year of Measure J for My Parks Enhancement Fund. So very exciting stuff. We're definitely activating and investing with the funds, so it's a really good thing. We're shifting again, like I said, our general fund is paying for all the expenditures. We're not doing direct expenses anymore. We handle that as a finance department now. And so the only thing that's direct to these assessment funds are the capital outlay and the operating transfers. So I think on this one, what I want to talk about is the revenue increased from our projection back in June. So once we received the final tax and insurance report, it went up a little bit. So we went ahead and incorporated that, about $70,000. The projects, we're still at 1.4 million, so that hasn't changed. And I believe there's about 15 projects that we plan on doing, so it's fantastic.
That's great.
All our
Good.
majority of our facilities, I mean, Hagen Community Center, Mather Sports Center, Neal Orchard Senior Activities Center, the White Rock Community Splash Park, and the Jackson property, we're going to take a look at that, the old McDonald Farm, the Williamson property, so we're seeing what we could do with that. And then parks like Salmon Falls, Rosemont Community Park, Primrose Park, Riviera East Park. And so planning's very ambitious and excited to get going. So they've also, out of those 15 projects, have applied or going to apply for 4 grants for those projects. So it's fantastic to match dollars that we're using with partnerships. So yeah, it's all just fantastic. So we're going to allocate about 1.4 million for those projects.
Great.
Everything from pathways to playground equipment and refurbishing our facilities because they've been around for a while and they're rentable and important pieces of the community. So that's what's going on for my parks enhancement. We are using some of the fund balance. I don't know if I highlight. I don't, but you can see it's a negative. So what that's about is last year we had budgeted for projects, but timing's everything. We can't do it perfectly, right? So we didn't get all the projects done that we wanted to do. Some carried forward, and we have fund balance, $300,000 to start. And so we're using some of that fund balance to take care of those projects. So that's what the negative 132 is. Yep.
All right.
And so, yeah, that's the plan for my Parks Enhancement Fund.
Okay. This time, I'd like to invite the public to comment. Seeing none, I would like to close the public hearing at 7:37. Are there any questions from the board? Yes, Director Lineback?
Yeah, actually, more of a comment than a question. And that comment is, it's just stunning to see the work that the district is able to accomplish with this additional revenue. The capital improvements, backfilling the ongoing maintenance needs, and I just so appreciate, even though there may not be any members of the public here to hear this, that they entrusted us with these additional revenues. And it's just wonderful to see what the Park District is doing with that opportunity. That's my comment.
My hair is rising on my arm right now. That's just
That's
it's so
a great
true.
comment, yeah.
I have a question.
Director
No, I have
Sloan?
a comment, actually. With so many projects on our plate, are we going to be keeping some more of our seasonal workers longer to address some of these projects? Or are these contracting out of the district, or?
All of them are different in their own manner. I don't know if Laura wants
Does
to
it
speak
affect our
specifically about some of them. but-
Director,
So I
District
think
Administrator.
the plan is for some of it, most of it, to be contracted out by what the actual project dictates. So it won't be an increase in seasonal staff associated with these projects, because that's more of a specialized, larger thing. We use seasonal employees for mostly park services and recreation, for kind of entry-level positions. So the only one that we took on in addition to support this was the contract for development review plans, but also we're going to have mostly contractors coming in and doing the concrete work, a lot of the hardscape stuff. And we have an amazing park planning staff. That we're small but mighty.
Yeah.
And so they're really well versed in contract management, and that's how we typically will get through those projects.
Great.
And any more comment? No. I'd like to comment, I agree with Director Lineback that it is so nice to see 15 projects for this year. And what we can do with 1.5 million, amazing. It's also really nice to see the spread of the projects that are being done. I would just like to make sure that our residents who voted it in because they wanted to see changes, that we have signs that tell them this is a Measure J, my park enhancement,
Absolutely.
project.
And Alyssa from
And
our
I think
marketing and
that's-
communications,
yeah.
she's created those signs for that.
Wonderful.
For that particular
They
thing, yeah.
should be out there so that, that the community can see that this is what they wanted and this is what they're getting.
And Lincoln Village is a fantastic example of exactly what we're doing. And it's just,
Yes.
let's keep going.
Yes. So kudos to staff, including most especially the planning here to make things happen here. Thank you. Now, if there are no more questions or comments, I would like to call for a motion.
I'll make that motion. I move the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 18/19-17 and approve the final budget for the My Parks Enhancement Fund Measure J Community Facilities District CFD number 2016-01-347P for fiscal year 2018-19 and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Moved by Director Sloan,
I'll second that.
seconded by Director Lineback. Roll call vote.
Director Lineback,
Aye.
Director Sloan,
Aye.
Chair Reyes,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Yearwood and Secretary Danzel are absent.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
All right, so now we're on to the last.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Item F1H is to adopt Resolution 18/19-18 and approve the final budget for the Park Maintenance and Recreation Improvement District 347R for fiscal year 2018-19 and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Thank you. I will open the public hearing at 7:42.
All right, so our final budget. So this is for
PMRID.
PMRID area and the grid for this. And so not too many changes from preliminary to final. As a matter of fact, our services, our capital outlay, our operating transfer out is the same. And we've kind of shifted to keep it clean and easy, all the projects into My Parks Enhancement Fund. It's just simpler to do it that way. And so this is purely operational here for parks and for recreation, coming from the operating transfer out. There has been some good news. The revenue projections were higher than we had originally planned for in June. And so that increase was implemented. And we talked about potentially adding project or enhancing our expenses, water, utility or something. But for now, we're going to have that difference sit in as reserves and either carry it forward, or if down the road the board or staff wants to recommend to utilize that funds, we could find a purpose for it. But for now, it's going to be a reserve. So that's how we're handling that. Otherwise, the fund is progressing, and that's my report for PMRID.
Thank you. I'd like to invite the public to comment at this time. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing at 7:43. Are there any questions or comments from our board? The only comment I was going to make was that I think that's a good idea, that we have the projects so that we can concentrate on delivering service and the maintenance. And I was thinking that one of the biggest things that the PMRID brought was the safety and anything that dealt with the security. And we did have our security
Yeah,
patrolling.
security, exactly,
And I
comes out
think
of this
that it comes out of the PMRID, right, in operations. And if there's anything at some point, I think one of the others is to address some of the safety. I don't know whether it was lighting or what, or more security, I'm not sure. But that, because I do remember it's safe, green, and clean.
Yeah.
That was their biggest thing, safe, green, and clean. So Jerry, we need the parks green, not brown. I'm pulling your leg. Don't turn off the water. Okay, so other than that, I would like to entertain a motion.
I move that the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 18/19-18 and approve the final budget for the Park Maintenance and Recreation Improvement District 347R for fiscal year 2018-19 and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Moved by Director Lineback, seconded by Director Sloan. Roll call vote.
Director Lineback,
Aye.
Director Sloan, Chair Reyes,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Yearwood and Secretary Danzel are absent.
So motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. At this time, we are closing the public hearings, and we are ready to move on to the regular calendar items.
I'd just like to thank Matt for all of his hard work on this and Rick coming in so quickly and polishing this so well for the final presentation for night. So excellent job, Matt, and the finance team. They're
Yes.
really quite incredible.
I know
Very
every
good.
year I say this, I feel so much better about this budget than last year, but I hope I say that again next year, right? So it's just.
But I'll tell you something, not only are you saying it, but I can feel the sense of joy.
Yeah,
You
seriously.
know, because we've always had to go with a little bit of a sweat here or there, break a sweat, because we're just about there, you know? So this is really looking very good. And I know it's hard work that our finance committee and our district administrator and our planning, the whole team, management team has put together. But under your leadership for the finance, we are looking good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So moving on to the regular calendar, item G1 is to adopt resolution 18/19-19, adopting the appropriations GAN limit for fiscal year 2018-19, and I'll turn it back over to Mr. Goodell.
Yeah, that's why I didn't sit down.
It's your
Okay.
night.
I still have, it's still part, yeah. I think, I was hoping it was still connected to this PowerPoint. It is. And so GAN limit started with this gentleman here, Paul Gann, back in 1979. He supported and created Proposition 4. And basically what that is an appropriations limit for taxing government agencies that give them a spending limit. And so basically it's a taxpayer protection is what it really comes down to. And so how it's calculated, we take a couple of different percentages, the increase in population and or increase or decrease in the capital personal income level, and make that into a ratio. We're a unique district. We're in the city of Rancho Cordova and also the county of Sacramento. And so we get to choose whichever is the largest. And so the county of Sacramento is the larger growth indicator at 1.97%. And so we use those statistics. And then we take last year's prior limit, which was 11.3 million, and applied that ratio of increase, which brought it to 11.9 total. And so what we do, that's our spending limit. We cannot tax and spend more than that 11.9 million. And so we take a look at our side of what compromises our revenues, and it's all our property tax, it's our assessment districts, it's our investments off those assessments and taxes, and then also any fees that we are profiting from. So if we're charging more than what the cost of our recreational program, we have to include that as part of this calculation. But we don't do that. We usually subsidize our recreational programming. They're 70, 30, 60, 40, and such. So that's a starting base, 10 plus million that we have. And then we're allowed deductions to bring it down what's subject to it. And so that's down below. We can take off debt service. We could take off our capital improvements that we have, retirement and unemployment insurance payments. And so that brings it down to our 6.1 million that we have that's subject to that. So we're only at 49% of our overall total. So we're not even close to what we're allowed to spend. So it sounds like we need to tax more, right? That's what it sounds like. No. So we're within the regulations that we're supposed to be. So,
All right.
and I think that's my report for the GAN limit. Any questions?
Any questions from our board staff? All right, then I will entertain a motion.
I move that the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 18/19-19, adopting an appropriations so-called GAN limit for fiscal year 2018-19.
Moved by Director Lineback, seconded by Director Sloan. Roll call vote.
Director Lineback,
Aye.
Director Sloan. Chair Reyes,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Yearwood and Secretary Danzel are absent.
Motion carried. All right, we will move to G2.
Thank you. Item G2 is to adopt Resolution 18/19-20, amending the full-time and part-time salary and hourly rate scales as required by California Code of Regulations, Section 570.5. And again, I'll turn it over to Mr. Goodell.
So Andrea, she knew I was going to be up here, so she probably picked me to continue. So this is Andrea White, our Human Resource Manager's report. And basically what we're doing is we're adopting our salary schedule for full-time. And let's see, what do we say about this? Yep, that's what we're doing. We're going to amend the full-time salary scale, and we're going to do it per California Code, Section 570.5. Yes. And the reason why we need to amend it, I think it's up there, is we are implementing a 2% COLA, which hasn't been done, for years. That's why I think everyone down below is raising their
Very
hands up,
good,
right in the
very
picture.
good, very good. Yes, we are
Staff-
thrilled.
Staff is happy in the picture, so.
Yes.
That's why we're bringing forward this amendment. I know there's going to be a change in minimum wage, but that's going to be brought forward, I believe, in January or a future date. And Andrea will hopefully be here to report on that. But otherwise, that's the reason why we're bringing the amended scale, and I think it's in the board package there for you to review. And that's Andrea White's report, narrated by Matt Goodell.
Thank you, Matt. So staff is going to get a COLA. How long has it been since
I
we've
think
had?
2010 was the last one. Yeah.
It's time, it's time.
And the economy
This
is
true.
thriving. It's thriving,
Yeah.
and so it's due.
It's great. All right, so I would like to entertain a motion.
I move the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 181920, amending the full-time and part-time salary and hourly rate scales as required by California Code of Regulations, Sections 570.5.
Moved by Director Sloan,
Second.
seconded by Director Lineback. Roll call vote.
Director Lineback,
Aye.
Director Sloan,
Aye.
Chair Reyes,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Yearwood and Secretary Danzel are absent.
So motion carried.
Thank you.
So G3, you mean to say you're not going to give the three? G3. All right.
We'll miss you, Matt. Item G3 is to authorize the district administrator to execute a memorandum of understanding with the city of Rancho Cordova for community enhancement Measure H funds in the amount of $27,070 for improvements at the Neil Orchard Senior Activity Center. And I'll turn it over to Planning Manager Laura Taylor.
Hello, Laura.
Hello, good evening, Chair Reyes and members of the board. So you have seen this type of memorandum of understanding before. It's a standard template that we use with the city of Rancho Cordova in agreements to accept the Community Enhancement Fund grant money. And this happens to be for the addition of a ceramic storage building as well as a new kiln at the Neil Orchard Senior Activity Center. So it'll construct an accessible walkway to the new ceramic storage structure, and it'll increase the safety and accessibility for the senior art students. It'll also provide funding for the new electric kiln. And this is one of the few projects where we will actually be utilizing some labor from the park services, because we do have a couple of individuals that have some framing construction skills. And so they're going to assist us on this project. So in this case, we are actually matching some labor for the construction aspect of this project, as well as design and project management. So the fiscal impact will only be the amount of money that we end up paying in the salaries for those the staff match, and we don't anticipate any additional expenditures because the grant funding is going to cover all the material costs that we need to do. So so we're requesting that the board approve the authorize the district administrator to execute a memorandum of understanding with the city of Rancho Cordova for community enhancement funds in the amount of $27,070 for improvements at the Neil Orchard Senior Activity Center.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions from the board? It's good to see. I know it's been a while since we were trying to get the kiln fixed. And I know District Administrator, we were not sure if the kiln was included or if it was just storage, but now it is, so that's great. I'm thrilled that this is going to be done. And do you have a time frame that you were, that this, will
Yes,
this be
we're
done this year?
actually working on it, the design right now. Just this past week, Christina and John and Heather have been looking at some of the prefabbed storage structures. So as soon as we get this memorandum approved and fully executed, this is going to be one of the first ones that out the door that will get done.
Thank you. Unless there's any other questions or comments, I
I
will
had a question. I'm just trying to figure out where in this map, where I'm looking at. I know that's going to be the ADA walkway. Does it come out of a building? Is there a door?
Yes, so the dark line that you see, I don't have a diagram
It's
to
here.
point to. Well, actually, I do, right here. Maybe I can. Okay. So there is this line right here is the roof overhang of the Neil Orchard and building, right?
Okay.
This dark line right here. And right now, they do the existing storage under this overhang right here.
Okay.
Okay,
And so what we're gonna do is we've cleaned all that up for the most part. We're going to add a sidewalk that goes from that existing little patio that's under that overhang, and then add the building in between two of the windows that look out from some of the classrooms in the center. And so this line with the two dots, that's the fence that goes around the back of the building that kind of contains the garden, but this is on the side that's closer to the fitness course that we just put in.
okay.
Oh, it's on that side. Okay.
So it's on the other side. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that the Board of Directors authorize the district administrator to execute a memorandum of understanding with the city of Rancho Cordova for community enhancement Measure H funds in the amount of $27,070 for improvements at the Neil Orchard Senior Activity Center.
Thank you. So it's moved by Director Lineback,
I second it.
seconded by Director Sloan. Roll call vote.
Director Lineback,
Aye.
Director Sloan,
Aye.
Chair Reyes,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Yearwood and Secretary Danzel are absent.
Motion carried. All right, thank you. G4.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Item G4 is to adopt Resolution 18/19-21, amending the Conflict of Interest Code for the Cordova Recreation and Park District, and authorize submittal to the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors as the code reviewing body. This
And our
item
presenter is
is moi.
Danielle Jones.
Thank you.
Good.
This is an administrative cleanup item. Basically, the code is typically updated every few years, and the Political Reform Act requires agencies to adopt this code to determine which positions are designated to file the Form 700. So that's what we're doing here, because since the last time we updated it, there have been quite a few position changes, title changes, just changes overall. So we wanted to reflect those and then submit that to the Board of Supervisors. And once the board approves that, then they will issue those statements come April. All of those positions will have to then file the Form 700. So we're looking right now just to do updates to Appendix A. No changes to our disclosure categories. But if you take a look at the appendix, you can see all of the positions that have been added this go around. There's quite a few. I worked with the management team, and we decided to basically make all of the exempt positions required to file because of their level of responsibility.
Yes.
There's no fiscal impact, but I'm available to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? What about our board? I mean, a council, advisory council, like the PMRID or the
Yes,
measure?
PMRID.
Or in the My Parks
Yes.
fund, so that
They file,
they
yeah.
have to file
Yes.
also. What about the board of, in the senior center?
They have not.
They're just advisory board.
Correct.
So it's not
They're
quite.
not appointed by our board of directors, and
Okay.
so
All right. Okay. If there are no other questions, then I will entertain a motion.
Okay, my turn? Okay. I move the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 18/19-21, amending the Conflict of Interest Code for the Cordova Recreation and Park District and authorize submittal to the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors as the code reviewing body.
Moved by Director Sloan,
Second?
seconded by Director Lineback. Roll call vote.
Director Lineback,
Aye.
Director Sloan,
Aye.
Chair Reyes,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Yearwood and Secretary Danzel are absent.
Motion carried. All right.
Thank you.
So we are done. Thank you so much, board members here. We got this done nice and smoothly. So we are now going to item H.
Now it's your turn.
Yes.
Item H1 is board member reports.
All right, so who would like to start the report? Thank you, Director Lineback.
Okay, so I did attend the National Night Out at the Lincoln Village Community Park. It was very nice. They had a motorcycle police from Rancho Cordova come by, and they had a ice cream truck, which I resisted. And it looked like there was a nice turnout from the community. And also, well, I'll comment because I went from this National Night Out to one in my neighborhood, and Matt Buland, who's with the Sacramento Tree Foundation, attended both National Nights Out, and really he got drawn into these tree planting activities in the neighborhoods because of this day of service where they did the tree planting at Rosemont Community Park. And that's where the community encountered Matt and started saying, hey, we'd like to
wonderful.
plant some trees too. So that was just a really kind of neat consequence of the day of service at Rosemont Park. And then I also attended the 10th Annual Rosemont Celebration of Community, which the district did attend and was recognized for attending. And I live in that community. I was thrilled to see that the Rosemont Community Foundation was given a $10,000 grant by SMUD and recognized by various members of our legislature, including our county supervisor and Assembly Member Cooley. And it was another great day, great weather, tons of community there. And I appreciate that the Park District shows up at that event. I appreciated that it was highlighted in the monthly newsletter as well. So that's my report.
Wonderful. Thank you. Director Sloan?
Well, I attended the ribbon cutting at Lincoln Village for the park course on July 20th, 2018, as was some of my fellow directors. And I'm just taken back and in awe, and so are a lot of the residents out there as I watched a lot of, people who just frequent the park, even though it was 8:30 in the morning. There are still some people there that were just normally come to the park and walk, and they saw these equipment, and it really adds to your daily experience when you can have something like that to have and stop and actually get a little bit more limber and more healthy. And I think that's this is number 2 in our district, and I'd like to see more of them. It's just a plus to have that. And I've also mentioned, so many people have come up to me since then and have told me how great it is to have these apparatuses at their park. So kudos to planning and Rancho Cordova and all the people involved. It was a great little ribbon cutting. I attended the CRPD 60th anniversary gala, which was a nice little party. It was nicely decorated. We had I loved the CRPD photo collage. I think that's something that's real special, and a lot of historical images on there that I think were just fantastic. It was nicely put together, and it led into the party in the park, which what can I say? It was another class act for our park district to have that, that party in the park. Everything's free except for the ice cream, I believe, and the beer. You had to pay for the beer and the wine. But basically, it was, just a lot of fun. And I, although you mirror the Kids' Day and the 4th of July, this is our own little thing, and I think it was special, and every year it seems to be special. And I thought the group they played out there was kind of a very interesting
Jazz band.
jazz
Blues
group,
jazz, yeah.
and they were sort of remind me of the old jazz jubilee they used to have, because that's the more down to earth jazz than some of the contemporary jazz. So I thought it was fantastic. And I think a lot of our other fellow constituents who really had a good time out there. I also went out to the 10th anniversary annual Rosemont Celebration of Community, which I don't think I've ever missed one since, if this was the 10th, there's a good chance I was at all 10 of them. I remember when we had the ribbon cutting to that whole area out there with the bathrooms and the butterfly garden. So it's special to me, though. Terry's out there most of the times now, but it's always been my stomping ground for bank and shopping and recreating. And I do hope that the one of those tennis courts become 2 pickleball courts. I'm just praying for that. But I definitely see that park is, they've always been asking for programs, and we're bringing programs to that park. I think we recently had some type of a camp out there. I thought was fabulous, and I don't know if it was mentioned, but these are things that they asked for, and we're finding ways to accommodate their wishes. And so as the park grows and we head into our 61st year, we've got so much on our plate, and I'm excited to go into the next decade and see all these things completed. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Sloan. I wanted to say that July 20th was a Friday. It was a really busy day for me and staff, and the ribbon cutting was so much fun. Council member Garrett was there, and staff made us do our exercises on these things. And let me tell you, they looked easy, but when you got on them, they were hard. Next day, he and I were going to say, oh my goodness, we woke up and didn't know we had muscles where we ate. But it was really fun. And just like Director Sloan said, there were a lot of people out there early in the morning. And it was so nice to see. We already had seniors out there in the park course, which was really nice because it's an additional socializing outside of an enclosed building. They were there, they sat down, the whole motion of it all. So I thought that was really neat, and it was fun. And let that alone be happening for the day, that would have been exciting. But no, we went on and we had the big birthday party here, which I think staff did an excellent job with it. It looked good, it felt good. We had dignitaries there to celebrate with us. I mean, we had Councilmember Cooley, we had Congressman Amibera, we had Donna Tolley, Linda was there, and we were laughing because Linda was looking, we were saying, where's Linda Budge? Where's Mayor Budge? And in the collage, she goes, oh my God, you see this picture is 30 years younger. And this picture so it was really neat. And it really was, it was special, yet at the same time, it wasn't stuffy. So I do want you to know, everybody had a very good time. The food was good, refreshments were good. Mayor Budge herself had to come out and, give a great comment about the jazz band, that it reminded her of being in New Orleans. She just loved them. She said, we got to know who this band is and where they came from. The people it was just good. It was fun. And the day was not bad. for all the hot days we got, it worked out very well. Staff, you must have been totally exhausted. But we have 5 more months in our birthday year. Look at them smiling at me. We have 5 more months left to our birthday year. What are we going to do? Anyway, it was good. The other thing I wanted to say was I attended the Rosemont Community Annual gathering, and it was good to see there. It only grows better. But I will tell you, one of the biggest things that I really noticed was our tent. It really stood out. I want you, kudos. I want you to know when we don't see it or don't notice it, but it was very well manned, very nice and clean, not confusing in there. People came and stopped and were able to play the games, but the tent was nice, wasn't it? That navy blue background, Cordova Rec and Park District stood out. So I want you to know. And our guides, I have gotten so many compliments on our rec guide. And it was there, and people were talking to me about it. And you know, I had this one lady that I didn't know probably was getting it every time because she's like, it just gets better and better every time. So staff, you're doing something right. Keep it going. All right? It was nice to be there. It was very nice to be there and to see you all there. And also to stand out there. We did get an opportunity to introduce our board members to the crowd so that they would know who their Cordova Park District directors and board members were, and so that they could come up to us and tell us what they thought about it. And they're all smiles. So I think we're doing something right. The park is looking very nice. And I'm seeing and I'm hearing much about our staff participating out there. I do want to mention that I've had several community leaders come up to me and commend me for the work that district administrator and his representative staff are doing out there. So you are noticed. Visibility is what we wanted, and you're doing it, and you're doing a good job of it. Thank you. All right, that's it for now, and we will now move on to H2. There is none, right?
Right, so we'll move on to item I1,
Yes.
which is the district-wide monthly progress report for August, and I'll turn it over to Administrator Larkin.
Thank you, Clerk Jones. So I'm just going to report on a couple highlights for the month. There was a lot going on, and you've reported out on a lot of that activity. We met with the City of Rancho Cordova on potential repurposing ideas for the old shooting center property. In that discussion, I think we're going to start moving the terminology around. Instead of calling it the shooting center or the old shooting center, we're going to just start calling it the center property, so that when we're referring to that piece of property going forward, it is recognized going forward into the future versus the past. So when describing it, just call it the center property, and then the terminology will eventually shift that way. The address of it is 11551 Douglas Road, and I thought that was a little too complicated for some folks. We'll just call it the center property. So I let the city know also when talking about it, let's start moving in that direction in terms of terming it that way. I'm really glad about this particular item. We collected about 25 backpacks and about 25 pairs of underwear for the Folsom Cordova Unified School District Homeless Services Program. And as we delivered it, the day after, someone from the community had been taking on a collection as well of about 25 backpacks and underwear to also submit to the school district. So we went over there, had a great photo op, and it kind of just gives me the chills about how we are really incorporating authentic service to this community. We have a very caring staff here, and it was just really awesome to see someone from the public took our lead on this promotional did it upon themselves to actually do this and brought it to us so that we could submit it on her behalf. So I thought that was just incredible. And I want to really thank the staff for their thoughtfulness and their partnership with Folsom Cordova Unified School District. We won another award. So
Oh, gee.
lucky us. We won the CSDA California Special Districts Association Annual Award for Innovative Program Project of the Year for Heron Landing Community Park. The award will be presented at the CSDA conference, and we will be having our Park Planning and Development Manager Laura Taylor attend, as well as Director Danzel and Director Sloan. So congratulations, and once again, thank you for all of that hard work in planning and the innovative design, Laura. That is, I believe, our third award to date for that particular property, and there's potential for other awards coming soon as well. So
Wonderful.
great job. All right. We talked a little bit about the personnel policies update. Just to get a little more specific, staff presented over 60 individual policies, including sick leave, holidays, workers' comp, benefits, various leaves and absences, and safety. To know, it's really important to know that this was a collective effort, not just by our human resources manager. The approach that we took was we took different staff members from different levels of our organization. They've been meeting, my gosh, what, every other week or once a month in intensive meetings to get to the point where we're halfway through the personnel policies. And as the committee members can contest, there is a lot of material in there. So we're looking forward to setting up the workshop so the whole board can see where we are at this point and be able to give us feedback as well, so we can go forward and look to complete that hopefully close to the beginning of next year. Also, Park Services, they joined forces with the City of Rancho Cordova in the Volunteer Cleanup Day at Hagen Park on Saturday, July 14th. Over 25 volunteers were out there, and Park Services led the group in cleaning up the area and the ponds. And we also had a fishing derby out there, which was not new, but came back, I guess, after some years of being idle. So that was cool. We had the 60th anniversary, like you had mentioned, and I'm very proud of the staff's efforts. It was very classy. I felt it was a great representation of who we are. I was very impressed with all the dignitaries that showed up and gave us resolutions. And we got great compliments just on how they're seeing our service as a value to this community. So that was really nice to be recognized in that way. In recreation at Mather Sports Center, they ran their first middle school volleyball clinic in July. 17 participants signed up to hone their volleyball skills in hopes of making their middle school, high school teams in the upcoming season. We mentioned earlier that we had our first year at Rosemont Park. We offered Super Spies Camp. And so that was a successful. It ran this summer. They offered it, and approximately 20 campers attended this summer. We're looking to grow the program and work with Sac Unified School District to see if we can possibly get some indoor space through a joint use agreement going forward. In aquatics, the Blue Marlins ended their season with the annual VF Cal Championship. 70 Blue Marlin swimmers qualified for the Meet of Champions, and where swimmers will swim against the best in the region. So congratulations to them. The most important report is on July 23rd, over 40 participants celebrated National Hot Dog Day at the Senior Center and enjoyed an iconic summer meal while taking pictures with a staff in a hot dog costume. So whoever that was gets extra kudos. In appreciation of the center memberships, free ice cream sandwiches were handed out to the participants. We have several articles that have gone through the grapevine. Thank you, Alyssa, for producing those articles, as well as we were highlighted in California Special Districts magazine. I had an article in there with Kevin De Leon on Proposition 68, And as of today, also Inez was highlighted in the latest version that I got on my desk, highlighting her new nomination to the whatever the acronym is for that one she was just appointed to. So that's awesome. And congratulations, Inez, on that. In park planning and development, we're still, of course, working with LPA on coordinating the pool project. They met specifically with the city on some of the logistics related to the Sac Metro fire needs and the size of the landing, or the runway, I should call it, I guess. We'll call it a runway at this point with the size of it. So we're negotiating the size of the width of that, their need for fire engines to get into that potential design. And also, we had a very long meeting yesterday related to updating the design at a 30% view of where we're at. So it went really well. We're on track so far. They've done a really nice job. We have a couple tweaks we'd like to make, but so far so good. I'm really happy with the way it's working out. Let's see. CRPD management reviewed and prepared for the upcoming meeting with Sacramento County staff regarding CRPD park impact fees for projects in the Sacramento County. We have one more review meeting this week, and we should be looking to meet with them within the month. Christina James, our park planner, was personally invited by the California Office of Grants and Local Services to participate in a focus group to draft guidelines for the grants utilizing Proposition 68 funding. The personal invitation demonstrates that Planner James has earned a fine reputation with the state funding authorities, and she will be attending, or did attend, a 3.5-hour workshop on August 7th. So congratulations to her for being pulled out of people in the industry to say, we want you at the table for your opinion on how best to distribute Prop 68 funding, which was quite an honor for the CRPD to be represented that way. Also, in park planning, there is a list of the grants updated, and then also Olympic Land Construction finished the Sacramento Live Valley Steamers Irrigation Project. And also, we had an amazing intern this past summer, Dylan, who we miss dearly already. He was actually tasked with doing a pavement management plan. And he spent the summer, he was supervised by Christina James. He prepared a booklet, analyzed and walked the entire district's pavement plan, and came up with a valuable tool which will present or have a preparation for annual capital improvement projects going forward. So it was a needed thing. We would have hired a consultant to probably do that for us, but Dylan was fantastic. He came in, he was well mentored and coached, and he was fantastic. We got a great product from him. I think he was proud to bring that back to his college, and hopefully he'll return to us next summer because he was fantastic.
That's wonderful.
On the Board of Directors special event invitations, I'll just bring your attention to a couple things. The 8th Annual Business to Community Biz Expo is tomorrow, actually, here at City Hall. It's the Chamber of Commerce. They annually do this event. It's from 10 to 2. Also, the Inspire the Future event, it's the helicopter landing. I got a little more detail today, but I'll get you an email out. It is for August 30th at Dave Roberts Park. They're asking board members to arrive at 8:15 a.m. The event will start itself with some of the introductions and program at 9 a.m., and then the helicopter will land at 9:15. So I will send you an email just to give you more information. So just so you have that information I got today, I'll send that out to you as well. And they'll be landing a Huey helicopter from Sac County Sheriff. And then, of course, Doggy Days in the Park is Saturday, September 15th at Hagen Community Dog Park. And that concludes my report.
Any questions or comments from the board? I just wanted to comment on your chart for grants and grant applications. And I wanted to say kudos to planning and staff, because it looks like there's a lot of yeses here. And so I think you've done a good job. And I know you said you'd like to go out for 4 more. Go for it. But this is looking very good. All right. Okay, so if we do not have anything else, we're going to move to information items.
Yes, item J1 is the articles, correspondence, and public outreach. We have 4 articles, 1 letter, which is the CSDA award notification. We have the 60th anniversary photo gallery display and the newsletter for CRPD and the senior center newsletter.
Any questions or comments? None? Okay, let's move to item K.
Item K1 is regarding the regular board meeting on September 19th. We are expecting to see the 2017-18 claims report and also a ADA report presentation.
Okay, and that's also when we're going to have the consent calendar item that, of the last meeting that we had to pull.
Correct, yes,
Okay,
we'll move
good.
forward the minutes to.
Perfect.
Yes, thank you.
All right. All right, and then we have the calendar, which you had already gone through. So if there is nothing else, then I would like a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Moved by Director Sloan, seconded by Director Lineback. And so we will adjourn to our next regular meeting of the Board of Directors on Wednesday, September 19th at 6:30. Thank you. Good job. Good job, staff and director.